Hey guys, what's up? This is B coming to you from Guns and Accessories today. H&K 416D22. The Smith & Wesson M&P 1522. Two great tactical 22 rifles. We're going to compare these today. I'm going to give you some advantages and disadvantages of both of these. And if you're trying to make up your mind between buying one of these two, I hope that I'll be able to shed some light on some of the differences here. I'm going to try to be fairly thorough in this review. This is not going to be a short video. I'm going to try to jump into all the different types of things that I could think of. No, I won't be able to get everything, but it is going to be thorough. The first thing I want to talk about is who actually makes these rifles. The 1522 is easy. Smith makes the rifle. They submitted a patent themselves for the rifle. They're the ones who build it. Smith makes the 1522. Now the 41622 is a little bit more complicated. So the way it happens with the 41622 is it is licensed by H&K, but it's not built by H&K. The rifle itself is actually built by Walther in Germany. Now Walther does build it, and Umarex is the one who actually imports it. But Walther and Umarex really are kind of one and the same thing. I believe Umarex bought out Walther several years ago. But technically, Walther builds it and Umarex imports it into the United States. And a lot of people criticize it for saying that it's built by Umarex, when technically it is not built by Umarex. Some people refer to both of these two rifles as a toy. Some people refer to the 1522 as a toy because of how much polymer it has. Some people refer to the 41622 as a toy because of it being made by Umarex. Some people refer to both of these two rifles as toys because they're 22 caliber rifles. But both of these rifles are very good rifles, they're very solid rifles, and they will certainly get the job done. So as we go through here, hopefully you'll see that neither one of these two rifles are toys, but they have their own distinct advantages. Before we get into this, let me just show you that we're clear here. So the 1522 is clear, and the 41622 is clear. So as I go through the review today, I'm going to refer to the Smith & Wesson M&P 1522 as just the 1522, and the H&K as just the 41622. That's going to be the way that I'm going to refer to these as we go through here. Okay, so what I want to do first is I just want to quickly go through the spec sheet. So over here on Smith & Wesson, this is the actual M&P 1522 I have, model number 811033, and this is probably the most common one. It's the one that has the threaded barrel, that has the flash hider on there. So just some of the specs here. Obviously it's chambered in 22 LR. It comes standard with the 25 round detachable magazine, blowback semi-auto, 16-inch barrel, 1 in 15-inch barrel twist, adjustable A2 post, adjustable dual aperture, 33.75 inches extended, 30.5 inches collapsed, 6-position car stock, 5.5 pounds, carbon steel matte black for recreational hunting. And of course, a lot of those specs we're going to spend a whole lot more time on. So on the 41622, just the standard specs it has here, again, 22 LR, mag capacity 10 and 20, and actually there's 30, and we're going to talk about that more. The weight without a magazine is 6.8 pounds. Overall length is from being collapsed, it's 30.2 inches, to being extended, it's 34.5 inches. Barrel length is 16.1 inches. Barrel twist is 1 13/4 inches, 6 grooves, operation blowback. So the 1522 is intended to mimic a direct impingement system where the gas comes directly through a tube back here and kicks the bolt back. The 41622 is intended to mimic a piston system where the gas comes up, and instead of coming all the way back, it hits a piston, and then that piston drives the bolt back. But those are intended to, these two rifles are intended to mimic that. This is intended to mimic a true AR-15. This is intended to mimic its bigger brother, the H&K 416. But that doesn't matter with either one of these because both of these are just blowback rifles. Okay, let's talk about the prices between these for just a little bit. So the 1522, I bought this one earlier this year on sale for $379. Again, this is the 811-033 with the threaded barrel and with the flash hider. I bought it on sale for $379, but I've been seeing it on sale at Palmetto recently for $299, and it comes in and it leaves, and so you kind of have to watch there on Palmetto. But this rifle is anywhere from, well, if you catch it on sale at Palmetto, $299 up to $350 if it's not on sale at Palmetto if they have it in stock, all the way up to $375 to $400 maybe at Bud's. So that's kind of the price on this. This rifle, the 416-22, has always been a very expensive rifle, and that's why I haven't got it before now. It's always been in the $500 range. This was on sale at Palmetto recently for $299, and whenever it dropped down to $299, I decided that it was time to buy this rifle. That's definitely the cheapest I've ever seen this rifle. But you can find it. I think Bud's has this same type of rifle for about $340 or $350. Well, it's a 10-round mag, but you can just put in, buy your 20 or 30-round mag for it. But around $340 to $375. So as it is with the sales that are going on right now, you can generally get these two rifles for about the same price now. Whereas this one used to just always be so much more expensive, it really wasn't even consideration. Because when you're talking $500 to $600 for this, you're talking about being able to buy a true AR-15. And so whenever it was that much, it never tempted me too much. I mean, I liked it, but at that price, it just didn't work. So now we're talking around in the same ballpark here. The first thing you notice whenever you pick up these two rifles is the difference in weight. These two rifles are two very different rifles. The 1522 is polymer from stem to stern. You have a polymer quad rail. You have a polymer lower receiver, polymer upper receiver that's steel reinforced. You have a polymer charging handle and polymer receiver extension buffer tube, which actually the receiver extension here is just actually one molded polymer piece. It's just molded into the lower receiver here. So this thing is polymer all the way through. The 416-22 is completely different. It's aluminum all the way through. You have aluminum quad rail, aluminum lower receiver, aluminum upper receiver, aluminum charging handle, aluminum receiver extension. Even you have an aluminum castle nut here. So right there is just a huge difference that you can notice right away when you pick up these two or when you look at them. That they definitely differ as far as that's concerned. Okay, let me go ahead and get my decorations out of the way here. So what I want to do now is let's talk about the weight of these two, and I'm going to actually get a scale out and I'm going to weigh these two for you. Let's start off with the M&P 1522 here, and this is the standard 25 round magazine. And of course, we're empty here. So you can see there, 5 pounds, a little more than 4 ounces. So we're talking a little bit more than 5¼ pounds. Next, let's weigh the 416-22. And I went ahead and put in a 30-round magazine on this so it would be a little bit closer to what that 25-round magazine weighs. And you can see there, it's a little bit less than 7 pounds, 4 ounces. So a little less than 7¼ pounds with that 30-round magazine in there. So there's a very big difference there. It's a little under 2 pounds difference, but that little under 2 pounds difference is huge. You know, it's kind of like on a cell phone. You have a cell phone that, say you have one that has 5-inch screen and one that has a 5.5-inch screen, and you say, well, it's only half of an inch difference. It's actually a huge difference on a cell phone screen. And same thing with this little under 2 pounds difference. This 416-22, when you pick this thing up, it just feels like a tank compared to the 1522. Okay, now let's compare the stock sights that come with these two rifles. So let's start off with the H&K 416-22. So on the 416-22, you kind of have your standard HK sight here where it has 4 apertures. Alright, now let's look at the sights on the 1522. So the 1522 has this dual aperture system. So it just switches down. So of course that doesn't make a whole lot of difference because you have all this quad rail space. You have all this quad rail space here, so you can mount whatever kind of optics you want to on that. So let's compare the standard buttstocks that come with both of these rifles. So this is the one that comes with the 1522, and this is just a standard AR-15. Could not be any more plain than this. It gets the job done, but this is what you would find on a basic bare bones AR-15. The 416-22 absolutely wins out on this. This buttstock is awesome. You can see there it's actually branded HK. This is a very, very nice buttstock. It's very wide, especially right up here. You can get a very good cheek weld on that thing. This back part right here is actually rigid. There's no play in that whatsoever. It's just solid plastic there. Maybe a tiny little bit of play, but not much. This right here, this is solid also. That doesn't flex over anything. So it's just basically one rigid piece here. But compared to this, the 416-22 is absolutely going to win out. Of course, that's the good thing about this is they can be changed, but just standard, this 416-22 buttstock is a whole lot nicer. All right, let's compare pistol grips. And same story here on this one. This pistol grip is just absolute standard fare. There's nothing fancy going on here. It works. I mean, I haven't changed it yet. I'll probably will eventually put a mag pull grip on here, but I just haven't done that yet. 416-22 has a very nice pistol grip. It's got some extra heft there, some extra chunk. It's got some nice stippling on the side and on the back strap here. It's the same stippling on the sides and the back strap. Nothing on the front, it's just smooth on the front. But this pistol grip absolutely wins out over the 1522's pistol grip. Okay, let's talk about storage options that you get with this. And again, just standard from the factory, this is what you get as your storage options. So on the 1522, if you take the buttstock off, you can pop this little rubber cap off the end here, and you have all the storage space right inside there. So it's that long, which is going to be about 6 inches or so. So you have that much storage. The 416-22 has more storage in this pistol grip right here. You can open that up. Have a battery compartment there, just a hollow there. And then on this buttstock, you can swivel this out. And you have 2 battery compartments there or whatever, and this is just hollow in here, so you have all that storage as well. Okay, on the pistol grips, on the 1522, you can put any standard AR-15 pistol grip on that thing, and it'll work out fine. On this one, you can replace it, and I've seen people talking about putting some MOE pistol grips on here, but it takes some extra work because I think this curvature right here is different than this curvature. This is more of a standard curve, where this one I don't think is quite as standard, but saw people talking about putting MOE grips on there. They did it, but it took some extra work. So next thing I want to talk about is for being able to put different buttstocks on here. All right, so I've got my caliper, and I'm just going to measure the receiver extension here. Alright, so there's 1 inch, and then make sure we were zeroed out. Okay, so 1 inch, past 1 inch, and then an additional, looks like a little bit more than 0.15. Well, a little bit less than 0.16, so about 1.158 or somewhere in that neighborhood. So you can put any standard mil spec buttstock on the 1522. You can put commercial buttstock on there, but it's going to rattle a little bit because commercial has a little bit wider diameter than mil spec. The 41622 has a lot smaller diameter. So on this 1 inch, and we're looking at 0.112, about 0.13. So about 1.13, a little bit more than that. So the receiver extension on the 41622 is definitely smaller than on this one, because if I try to put this buttstock on the 1522, it just will not fit. Of course, if I put this buttstock on here, it fits really. I mean, it fits, but it rattles quite a bit. So any mil spec buttstock you can put on there, commercial, is going to rattle a little bit. On this one, it's just very small diameter compared to that, and so you could put mil spec on here, and if you put commercial on there, it's really going to rattle around quite a bit. Next, let's talk about magazines. So magazine options. The Smith & Wesson, the 1522 uses just a 25 round magazine. This is the standard one. You can get a 10 round magazine for that thing, and on Cheaper Than Dirt I saw that there's some Plinker magazines, I think, that are 30 round maybe, and I don't have any experience with them, so I really can't talk too definitively, but from what I've read about those Plinker magazines, they're not supposed to be very good quality. Black Dog also makes a drum for the 1522, a 15 round drum. The 41622, these are the standard 20 round magazines that come with it. And here are the 30 round magazines that come with it. You can also get 10 round magazines. I don't have 10 round magazines because I don't live in California, and I don't do a bunch of bench rest shooting, so I don't worry about that too much. I like to have the extra capacity. Really, I had these two magazines already before I got this 41622, because I have the Beretta ARX 160-22, and they use the exact same magazines. The 416-22 really has just a few more options. You have a 10 round, 20 round, and 30 round magazine. And actually, they say this is a 30 round magazine. It actually holds 31 comfortably. I can put 31 in it, and there's still even a little bit of slack left. So that's really a 31 round magazine. So you have 10, 20, 31 round magazine. And on the 1522, you have 10 and 25 round magazines. Next, let's talk about the controls of the actual rifle. So 1522, let's start off with magazine release, your safety. It's a 90-degree safety here from fire to safe. Charging handle is just like a standard AR-15. This is not a standard charging handle. It doesn't pull back near as far as a standard AR-15, but it does have a functional charging handle. There's some of these tactical 22s that they actually just have the little handle here to pull the bolt back with. This has a functional charging handle. And then right here is the really good thing about the 1522 is this bolt catch paddle release. So it'll catch there. So let's talk about the 416-22's controls. It's got a functional dust cover here. This forward assist is only for looks. It serves no purpose. If I remember in a second, I'll show you that on the inside, but it doesn't do anything. Okay, charging handle like standard AR-15. Again, same thing as the 1522. It doesn't pull back near as far as a standard AR-15. You have a 90-degree safety from safe to fire. I think the Colt 22 tactical rifle had, I think I heard them or seen it said somewhere that had 180 degrees that you had to turn this thing This one just has a 90 degree. Okay, standard mag release. This is not functional. This doesn't do anything. It's just there to look pretty, just like this thing right here. It does not catch the bolt. But there is actually this little piece right here that'll catch the bolt. So if I push that up with my finger, it'll catch the bolt for me there. So you can't catch it with this, but you can put your finger up there and push that little piece up, and it'll catch the bolt for you. Next, let's talk about takedown. So these two rifles take down very similarly. The 15-22 is as close to a real AR-15 as it gets. I don't think there's another 22 AR-15 tactical rifle that breaks down as similar to a true AR-15 as this one does. So you have your rear pin that you push out. Okay, you break it. Push your front pin out. And then there you go. And on the 15-22, those two pins are retained, like on a true AR-15. And then from there, to get your bolt and charging handle out, pulls out just like it does on a standard AR-15. Very similar. Next, on the 4.16-22, it's pretty similar. You have a rear pin here. You push this out. It is not retained here. It pulls out. And then your front pin pulls out as well. And these two pins are different sizes. The shorter pin is the rear pin, the longer one is the front pin, or the one closest to the muzzle, the longer one. All right, and that's as far as you can take this down, or that's as far as Walther or H&K recommend that you take this down, is to this point right here. So if you want to clean the bolt, then basically you get it to this point. Here's that little piece I was talking about a second ago. This little piece I was talking about a second ago, that's called the slide catch. So it'll hold your bolt open for you there. Now let's compare the barrels of these two rifles. Here's the barrel for the 15-22. This is the barrel. Big, heavy barrel here. This is a barrel sleeve. Let's get to the barrel. Now, for me to show you the barrel, I'm about to do something that HK Walther does not recommend you do. But I'm going to do it and just show you how to do this. So, in the box, you get this wrench to be able to take off the flash hider. Okay, and just thread that off. And there's the barrel. Now, to get this out, so what you do is just grab the charging handle, and it's going to take a little bit of force, but don't pull too hard, and then you're going to be able to pull this loose from here. Okay, there's your charging handle, and this is where some people are going to start dropping off. This is the barrel. So we're looking at about 0.32 of an inch. And of course, inside of that's going to be very close to 0.22 of an inch. So very, very, very thin pencil barrel here. Now, like I said, a lot of people are going to start dropping off on this because of that. But I've seen people on forums who have had this rifle for a long time, shot 10,000 rounds through it, and this has never caused them problems. So, there's the difference in the two barrels. So, obviously on that, I mean, there's not going to be much competition. You're going to want that barrel right there compared to that barrel. Let's talk about the threads on these barrels. So the thread on this barrel is not a standard barrel, or not a standard thread, But you can get a converter for this thing. I think I saw one from tactical22.net or one of those sites. But you can get a thread converter for, I think it was around $25-30, so that you can get it to a standard 1/2 inch by 28 thread, so you can put on any type of other flash hider that you want, or suppressor, or any of that type of stuff that you'd want to put on there. The 1522, its barrel is it's already just standard 1/2 by 28. So you can take that thing off and put on any flash hider, suppressor, any of that type of stuff that you want to on this. So for that reason, the 1522 again wins out, because you can put any standard AR-15 muzzle devices on there. Okay, so just want to talk about this right here. This is, they call this outer part the slide housing. Of course, you've got your bolt right here. You got your bolt right here, and the outer part, this kind of a clamshell that clamps around that, is called the slide housing. Now the few people I saw on YouTube who talked about, you know, the problems they've had with this rifle comes with this slide housing. And the problem is that there's 5 Allen screws here. Okay, and you've got your 5 nuts over here. And the problem that they've had with this is those coming loose, and then that causing problems with the bolt and different stuff that goes on with that. So the recommendation that they made, and so I'm going to follow it, is, you know, when you take this apart, when you go to clean this 416-22, you're probably going to want to take it down to this point every time. Like I said, HK Walther does not recommend this. You're possibly voiding your warranty to get to this point, but I don't even really know how they're going to know if you did this or not. And to be honest, if I can avoid them having to do warranty work anyways, I'm going to fix the problem here instead of having to send it there, and then them taking forever to do it, and then on top of that, them possibly fighting me to get warranty work done. So if I can fix a problem, I'm going to fix a problem. This is not difficult to take out. All you got to do is take off the flash hider, and then it pulls right out. So anyways, recommendation is at least, 500 rounds or so. Take this out, put a little torque on those, make sure that those are tightened down good. Other than that, there's not many problems that I read about this 416-22. So just make sure that you check on that every once in a while, that those 5 screws are tightened down like they're supposed to. So let's go ahead and put these back together real quick. All right. So you can see right there, barrel is going to go right down in the sleeve, and whoops, make sure you get the charging handle in there before you slide it all the way home. And then just push that all the way up. Thread your flash suppressor on there. And no reason to over tighten that. Maybe a quarter turn, a little more maybe, past whenever you get it hand tight. Alright. Like I said, the longer one goes up front. Shorter one goes in back. And saw some people talking about the rear pin getting loose. If you'll just tighten the muzzle device down here, your flash hider, it'll keep that thing where it's supposed to be. The 1522 goes together very, very simply. I mean, you pull the bolt and charge handle out, put those back in. Snaps back together like that. Next, trigger guard. So on the 1522, obviously this is just one molded piece here. There's nothing you can do to that thing. The 416-22 has a trigger guard that can be replaced. Now it's not going to fit with the standard AR-15 trigger guard, and so the recommendation I saw on that was if you're gonna replace that, get the mag pull enhanced, make sure you get the polymer one, because you're going to have to do a little bit of Dremel work on it to make sure it gets in there. But this one does come off just like a standard AR-15 trigger guard. You have this pin right here that's under spring tension. You push that up, it pops out, and then you just drive that pin out right there, and then you can put that other trigger guard on there. Okay, next, let's talk about something that's very important here about trigger pull. So the 416-22 has a very heavy trigger pull. It's anywhere from 8 to 9 pounds, and probably for me it's probably closer to 8 pounds, I imagine. But it's a heavy trigger pull. But with that being said, it is a nice trigger pull. I mean, it's a solid pull through. There's not a whole lot of grit or any of that type of stuff or creep. It pulls through. Then you really feel it tightening up, and then you pull and it breaks pretty nicely. But we're talking a little bit more than 8 pounds or so there. The 15-22 has a nice trigger pull also. I mean, for standard stock type stuff. Now, the 15-22 when it first came out had just standard springs, and mine is the one that people talk about having the blue springs, which are supposed to be improved. And when they put that blue spring in here, it's supposed to have reduced the trigger pull by about 1 pound. So mine is 5 to 6 pounds, probably a little bit closer to 5 pounds. But the trigger pull on my 15-22 is nice. I know a lot of people complain about that, but I can't complain about mine. I mean, I know I could put in better trigger and it would pull better, but for a 22 rifle that's like this, mine pulls, breaks nicely as well. Definitely lighter trigger than this one right here. Now that's definitely where the 15-22 is going to win out, is because on this you can replace this with any standard AR-15 trigger. You can put any standard AR-15 trigger spring on it to reduce the trigger pull. So you could put a 3.5 pound spring on that thing. On this, you're basically stuck. I've seen some videos where people do some work on that, but you probably kind of need to know what you're doing on that. On this, it's relatively simple, and you can do all kinds of stuff with the trigger on this. This one, basically, you're stuck at a pretty heavy pull. So that kind of leads me to my next point is, if you're wanting to get one of these rifles to have faux-full auto, the 15-22 is absolutely going to win out. Number one, you can reduce this trigger pull. Number two, you can get a slide fire stock that's going to fit on there, and you can have faux-full auto on this thing pretty simple. On this one, there's just no way. Number one, the rifle weighs so much more. We talked about it being about 7.5 pounds. It being that heavy, it just absorbs recoil. There's just very, very little recoil. Where on this, you have this polymer frame, it's lighter, it recoils a little bit more. I mean, it's not insane, of course, but it does recoil more. On this, with the heavier frame, it absorbs the recoil. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is just in general about being able to replace parts. Now, on the 15-22, there's a lot of parts here that you're going to be able to replace with standard AR-15 parts. Like I've said, the pistol grip you can replace with standard AR-15. Buttstock is a standard AR-15. The handguard, it does take a little bit of extra work, but you can do it. It just takes an extra tool, but you can put any standard AR-15 handguard on here that you want to. So there's a lot of stuff here, and like I said, the trigger can be changed out also. So there's a lot of things here that can be changed on here. On the 416-22, you can do some of that, but it takes more work. The handguard I don't think can be changed. I think I've read somewhere it's integral to the system. You can't replace that. The trigger, there's nothing you can do to that. The pistol grip, you can. It does take extra work. The buttstock, it can be done as well. You can put on different buttstocks. But as far as that's concerned, the 15-22 absolutely wins out because there's so much more that you can do customability with this thing that you can't do with this thing. The other thing about this is that the parts on these two rifles are going to be fairly difficult to get. So here's the parts diagram for the 416-22. And from this parts diagram, and I'll have a link to this for you, but in this parts diagram, it does have Walther's part numbers on there. But I looked and looked and looked. Midway doesn't count them, carry them. Brownells doesn't carry these parts. I could not find a good source for getting all these. Now, one thing is, like especially this whole trigger housing thing, is the same as the Colt 22 rifle. So maybe if you could find a source for that, you could find some of these parts here. But I looked and looked, I couldn't find them. They may be there, and if you know a good source on that, please leave that in the comments so that I can put that in the link down there. But I couldn't find a good source on that. The 1522 is the same way. In fact, it's even worse. On the 416, it breaks it down and it gives you Walther's part number. So you've got that far at least. On the Smith, they just don't sell their stock parts. So the bolt is the main problem here. You cannot get this bolt. Smith just doesn't sell it. So the only parts diagrams really that they have for the 1522 is these right here, which are just the pictures that Smith submitted whenever they were getting their patent. Okay, so that's the only parts diagrams we have for the 1522 is from the patent, from them filing this patent. Other than that, Smith has never given any kind of parts diagram where you can order these parts. So if you're wanting to get any of these stock parts from Smith, that's going to be kind of difficult. Now, Smith is pretty good on warranty work with that. If you have a problem with the bolt, something happens, extractor blows out or whatever, they're pretty good about getting that fixed for you. So that's definitely a plus there. But on both of these, there's really not a good source for getting any of these parts. Okay, next thing I want to do is I just want to get some close-ups here for you. Okay, and on the 416-22, I definitely like this painting here. I know that's just a personal preference. Not everybody does like that. But I definitely like that painting. You can see here how the rail is T-marked. Kind of semi-monolithic here. Have your faux gas block here, adjustable gas block. Barrel sleeve. Okay. And the Germans are known for loving their proof marks. There's proof marks all over this thing. Get some close-ups of the 1522. Show you some close-up differences of the lower receivers here. See, standard AR-15 trigger hammer spring system there. You have this proprietary one here. Okay, and on here, this one operates like a standard AR-15. If the hammer's not cocked, you can't put it on safe. Whereas on this one, it don't matter. Alright, and then let's compare upper receivers a little bit. See the blue spring in there on the 1522 right here. Okay, so let's talk about accuracy on both of these two. I feel like on both of them I can be just about as accurate with either one of them. On the 416-22, people talk about the accuracy problems because of that barrel, about barrel whip being so small. But really that flash hider, it's made to secure it, and it really does a good job. It holds that barrel pretty well. People talk about the accuracy problems with the 1522 because of this polymer hand guard moving around whenever you're trying to shoot, but I've never really experienced any of those kind of problems. So with both of these rifles, like I said, I think I can be just about as accurate. You know, shooting at 30, 40, 50 yards was putting about the same group size on both of those. Okay, another thing that's important to me whenever I look at any type of firearm is I look at how much support there is for that particular firearm. And the 1522 is definitely a more popular rifle, and it has a way better forum for you to go and to ask questions and to find answers than the 416-22 does. The Smith & Wesson M&P 1522 forum is awesome. You can go there, you ask all kinds of questions. It's definitely superior to the support you're gonna find from other guys that you're gonna be able to talk about this with other guys. Now, I think that's probably going to change because if this thing stays down around $299, there's probably going to be more of these sold because this is a sweet rifle also. But for now, this is just more popular, and the forum on this is better. You know, whenever I'm trying to decide between two cell phones, I always go over to a site called XDA Developers, and that's where there's people who develop for phones and who you know, try to make them run better. And if I'm trying to decide between two cell phones, I always go over there and see which one has the more development and which one has more support. And nearly always, if I'm torn, that's what breaks the tie for me. And you know, that could definitely be true for you here. If that's something that's important to you, you're gonna find way more support for the 1522 than you are for this thing. So why would you want either one of these two guns? Now, both of them could be used for training because they're both very similar in their function. They both have a functional charging handle, both have a 90-degree safety switch, both have mag release in the same place that a standard AR-15 would. Of course, the 1522 wins out because of the true paddle release, the bolt catch paddle release. So that's definitely a big thing there. Also, you know, if you're training as far as even learning just cleaning a rifle, this is going to break down more similar to a regular AR-15. So really, if you're buying these two rifles to train with, the 1522 really wins out on that. Now, if you're buying these two rifles for fun, they're both fun. I mean, they're both a blast to shoot. So, you know, if you're buying it for fun, then just evaluate all the stuff that I've talked about today and make your decision based on that, because they're both fun rifles to shoot. So like I said, I know this has been a long video. I tried to be as thorough as I can. There's probably a lot of other stuff I could have put in here, but hopefully in the things that we've gone over, you'll be able to make up your mind and you know, make a decision about which one of these two rifles that would serve you better. Again, this is B from Guns and Accessories today. Thanks for watching.